Hi guys, Wendy here. I'm the Mainely DIY mom. I came down to my lovely garage to expose this interior wall, thinking I was going to paint it, and discovered this lovely hole here. I wonder what happened. I'm not going to say what. And I thought at first, okay, I'll patch this hole, but when I look closer, there's quite a bit of mold down here that's starting to grow. So I think I'm going to replace like the lower section. And instead of doing a patch, I'll come up to here and replace all this because they went a little too low with the sheetrock and it's touching the cement wall. So we're gonna fix that.
I simply used a board and a level to mark my straight line across the wall. It would have been great to do that with a chalk line as well. I just didn't have one on me and I just grabbed those. It worked fine. And the vertical line is super important that you do that on a stud. You need to do that halfway through the stud because the new piece of sheetrock will be screwed to that stud. And I used a utility knife for the most part to cut that. The rasp, a little harder for me to use. You do have to be careful of electrical wires when you're using a rasp, that you don't go too far in the wall. I just went along that line. Demo time! This was the fun part, pulling it off the wall. Finally you get to see progress. And as you can see, there is moisture damaged fiberglass behind that wall. So I transferred the measurements over to my scrap sheetrock and then proceeded to draw my lines for cutting. And I scored the sheetrock twice with a utility knife. That's really all you have to do to snap it. You have to go all the way across, of course. So there's the other side. And boom, the back side fell right off. This is the section where I took sheetrock off, and the hole in the wall was just in this section, so that's why that is moisture damaged up there. But it's moisture damaged along the bottom as well, so I'm going to replace that fiberglass with new insulation. And this is the back side of the wall board. The mold and mildew goes up about a foot, and I have enough sheetrock left over where I can do about a 4 by 5 foot section of this lower section. So I'm going to do that too. You'll notice when I make this last cut, the vertical cut, there is no stud right there. But we will address that. Yeah. That's so satisfying. And then you just cut the back. Now with a fiberglass insulation, I wore a respirator, long sleeves, and gloves because this stuff is nasty. And to cut the fiberglass, I put a board on the floor and I used a board on top as well. So the leverage between the two made it super easy to have nice clean cuts. On either side of the fiberglass, the insulation, there are paper or flaps, which you can either lay on top of the studs and staple them to the front of the stud, or what I did was actually staple them just inside the stud. And the reason I did that was to eliminate staples between the studs and the sheetrock that I'll be putting down in a few minutes. I wanted it to lay perfectly smooth. So if you staple it on the inside of the stud, you don't have to worry about any stray staples that didn't go in well.
It's time to put up the sheetrock. I'm ready. I've got my drill, my drywall screws, one of these for a little bit of leverage, and yeah, let's get at it.
I installed it with the factory edge up against the rough cut side, and I'd really be interested to know how others do that. If you always just put factory edges together and butt joints together, or or in this case, like I did one of each. The blue tape just marks where the studs are, and I'm using 1 5/8 inch sheetrock screws. I put in a screw at the bottom at the top, one in the middle, and then one in the top piece of sheetrock. And I just ran the putty knife, not trowel, putty knife along there to make sure they were all seated properly. So before I screw on this last piece of drywall, there is no stud right there. So I'm gonna put a little shim behind the sheetrock so there's something to attach it to. Okay, y'all, it is now time to mud and tape. So let's go. For this first mud application, I'm going to be using this 5-inch trowel, some paper tape, a mud dish, some joint compound, and I have a bucket of water here and a mixer. You don't want to just put it all on the wall like this. You should mix it up. You can see the consistency of that. You want it to be creamy, smooth. That is very, very thick. So what we're going to do is just mix it up a little bit. Woo! I'm gonna set that right in the water. Look how creamy that is now. So we're gonna need a fair amount here. And what I've got going on here is I have a butt joint against a factory edge. So I've got there's gonna be a lot more mud down the bottom section. Go down the long way and flatten it out. And then just try to concentrate, in this case, most of the mud in the lower half. Now I'm gonna front load this side a little bit to try to get some more mud in here. There, that's better. Paper tape comes with a fuzzy side and a smoother side. And the fuzzy side goes against the wall. It also comes with a crease. So if you bend this tape, you can see the crease is pointing towards the camera. That is the side that goes against the wall. This would also be an inside corner crease. So just remember that the crease goes against the wall. Do what the pros do. Here I'm pressing the tape into the mud, working mostly from the center towards the outside edges. And remember, I had quite a bit of mud at the bottom because of the tapered edge up against a butt joint or a rough cut joint. So I'm going down the center, trying to thin that part out and then feathering the edges. Mudding takes practice, and I really admire the professionals who do this. Here's the tape application with the mud. Come here. Who's my girl? I poured some water on top of my mud to keep it fresh for next time. I'll just pour the water off when it's time to do my skim coat. The initial mudding and taping has been drying for more than 48 hours. So now we are ready to go and put on the final skim coat. Now this time I have a 10-inch blade that I'll be using to apply the skim coat. So I'm going to mix this up. You'll recall that I put some water on top, so I'm going to pour some of that out. I don't want it to be too wet. My goal here is to make a smooth transition between my taped edges and the surrounding wall. So I'm front loading it. I start out a little bit at a higher angle and then smooth it out as I go. And you want to run it down the middle, fan it at the top, fan it at the bottom, and try to make a nice smooth edge with no gap when you lay your trowel flat against the wall. The professionals make this look so easy, and it is tricky. It takes a lot of finesse and practice and patience for sure. I really admire those folks because they are so good at it. This is a vertical butt joint, so you start out with quite a bit of mud on your blade and start out at 90 degrees and then lay it flat as you lift up the blade up the side of the wall. And really go out as wide as you need to make a smooth transition. So that's the skim coat. This is a garage, so that's the last coat I'm putting on.
Hey guys, I wanted to revisit this one area right here. This was a butt joint. So it's two non-factory finished edges coming together. So when you put the tape on, it builds it up higher in the center here. And you really have to fan that out. So what I've done now that everything's dry is I've gone back over and really fanned it out. So when I hold my 10-inch trowel here, there's no gap any longer. So you want to fan it out until you get that nice smooth level without a gap. And I still have a gap here, so I'm going to put some more on, and I start kind of more at a 90 degree and slowly turn it in. Just spread all the compound on the wall. And that would eliminate the butt joint. So I just gotta smooth this out. Doesn't eliminate it, you know what I mean. Gets rid of the gap here. So I'm gonna try to, on the right hand side, smooth that. Fan it on the left a little. Just one pass up the middle. And that just helps really level out the wall. And to eliminate any gap you have between the butt joint and the rest of the sheetrock. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, please hit the like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one. Have a great day.